So we've learned how to call functions, which again are pieces of reusable code that accept any number of arguments and have exactly one output. The arguments are like inputs, and the function does some work with these inputs and spits out an output or return value. We can define our own functions like this. We first say def, and then the name of the function, in this case mul, and then we specify what arguments our function should take by saying open and close parentheses and putting the names of the arguments in between, separated by commas. After that, then we have a colon, and we have the function body indented. In our function body, we say return to specify what we actually want to spit out. It's important to know the difference between defining and running our function. So this code only defines the mul function. In other words, it's defining this piece of machinery, but we don't actually run it until we actually call our mul function. So here we're calling our mul function with arguments x equals 2 and y equals 3. So that's like passing in 2 and 3 as inputs into our function. So in our function body, then we're going to say x equals 2, y equals 3, and result is 2 times 3, or 6. And what that means is that when we say return result, then our function is going to spit out 6, meaning that the value of this call is going to be 6. If we plug in the values of this expression, then we're passing in 2 and 3, and the output of our mul function for this call is going to be 12. This function simplefunc doesn't take in any arguments. It just says that when we call it, return 3, so that the value of this overall expression is 3. And note that even though simplefunc doesn't take any arguments, we still need to add these parentheses in order to call it, because if we omit them like we did here, then the value of this expression is the function object itself. And I just want to note that although the functions we've been writing so far have been short, that's just been for illustration. Most of functions' usefulness will come from being able to avoid having to repeat code. For example, in this class, we've seen this code pattern a lot. It'd be nice to be able to just put it inside of a function so that we don't have to write it over and over again. We could just define this function once and call it. In functions, the return statement tells our function to spit out a value, and whatever gets returned is the value of that function call. If nothing gets returned, then Python will return a special value called none when your function is done. And just like print is for people, return is for functions, so we'll only use return inside of functions. So let's take this example where we've declared a function do something that takes in one argument, and it says print out is start, and if that argument is equal to 3, then we return 300. If we call do something with 5, where x is 5, then this is going to print out is start. X or 5 is not 3, so we skip this, and then we print out is end. If we call do something with 1 plus 2, or 3, then x is 3, and we print out is start. And now because x is 3, we return x times 100, or 300, meaning that the value of this overall expression is 300. And we never print out is end because we already returned a value. So whereas the value of this function call is 300, the value of this function call to do something with 5 is none. So functions are pieces of reusable code that take in any number of arguments and spit out exactly one return value, and we learned how to define functions in this video.